Hello, everybody. It's Tina here. According to my clock, we're right at the top of the hour. I just want to do a sound check. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Testing 1, 2, 3. Isn't that what they do on the as an official sound check? So as long as I know you guys can hear me, then we are ready to rock and roll. So just waiting for that little notification here. Wonderful. All right. Very good. Exciting stuff. Exciting stuff. Oh, you can. Okay, good. Thank you, guys. I always like to do a sound check. You know, there's been times where I've talked for like 20 minutes on a class and didn't know that anyone could hear me. So too funny. Too funny. That's awesome. I am thrilled to be hanging out with you guys here today. This is a topic that is, I'm not going to say it's new. It's actually a kind of a joining together of so much of the stuff that not only we've been working on for years, but that quite honestly I'm very passionate about. And there's a message here I want to be able to share with you today that I just think is so important and so timely for some of you here. And of course, I'm assuming if you've joined us live and or even if you're watching the recording after the fact, that this is there's something brewing for you here. There's something percolating for you here in all of this. And of course, as part of the session that we're doing here today, you would have also received a copy of a brand new manifesto that I wrote called The Purpose Paradox Manifesto. And I'll share with you obviously a little more about that in a moment. It's sort of the heart, the foundation of what we're going to talk about here today. But before we do that, I want to cover a couple of little housekeeping things that may come up. First and foremost, this is of course a live stream webinar type of format. You can see me talking. The only way I can hear back from you is through the chat. So I really welcome and encourage you, if you have any comments, if you have any ahas, if you have any questions that pop up for you, go ahead and share those in the chat box. It's actually a lot of fun to be able to kind of go back and forth a little bit with each other through there, and I see a number of you are doing so already. If you have any particular questions too, what I want to do towards the end of our time together, if we have enough time, is to ensure that we get a little bit of Q&A time, if we can. And so what I'm going to ask you to do, if you do have a specific question that comes up for you along the way, put a Q in front of it when you put it in the chat box. So I can't guarantee that I'm going to be able to answer everything right away or on the fly. I'll let you know a little opportunity later for how we can connect after the fact and after the call for any questions and such that you may have. But I really want to encourage you to do that so that this can become a bit of an interactive process for you. Because likewise, my bigger intention for you here is not to have you walk away with more stuff to do. It may sound funny to say in some ways, right? But if you're coming here looking for a bunch of to-dos, of course, I'm going to give you practical things you can take and use. That's always my intention when we're talking about the 3 steps to creating a purpose-led business based on who you are and based on what you love to do. I want to give you some really concrete stuff. But more importantly, what I would love for each of you, and the intention I've sort of set overall for us together here in this time, is for you to maybe be able to have a little bit of a mind tweak, to be able to give you something to think about a little bit differently, to be able to help you see something maybe from a slightly different angle. And in particular, if you're coming to this call, if you're coming to this time together, that you are able to get that little tweak, that little nugget. I know for me personally, quite often it's just something that sort of pops up out of nowhere that gives me an answer that I need, and that gives me an answer that I'm looking for areas of my business or life where I'm feeling stuck or frustrated. And so my intention for you today would be that we're able to create a space for that to happen for you. And I would be delighted for that to occur for you, of course. So I'm not looking to give you a bunch of work. I'm not looking to give you a bunch of homework here. That being said too, though, we did have it in our reminder notes. And if you had a chance to grab a worksheet that we created for today's training, so there's a lovely little worksheet here, holding up to the camera, that if you don't have it handy, no worries. It's not necessary, but you're certainly welcome to grab a copy of that. It's right at the top of the chat box here too, if you're joining us live, the link for that to grab that worksheet. Just have it handy, and or you can write notes around it, whatever works for you. But I'm going to be sharing with you what we call our purpose map process. There's actually 8 steps to this purpose map. We're going to be covering 3 of them in depth here today in our time together, but it actually is an 8-step process. And so I don't know about you, I love having a handy little worksheet, something fun to be able to see and refer to when I'm playing with stuff like that. So that is our housekeeping stuff. And I think we're we're all good tech-wise and everything. Woohoo! Gotta love it when the tech comes together. It's all good stuff. And wonderful, too, to see everybody here. This is great. I think there's a number of you that if we haven't met for the first time, it's so great to be able to connect here today and get to know each other. I'm waiting for the time when we can have this technology that I can see all of you in the same way that you can see all of me. That would be awesome. That'd be awesome. And I'm sure it'll show up here at some point too, right? So what is this purpose thing all about? What is it that brings us to having the discussion that we're having here today and to being in this space together here today? Here's the thing, and allow me to maybe be on a soapbox a little bit for a moment, but just in the spirit of authenticity, is there's something in our industry, there's what I believe to be a real serious misconception about what it actually takes to create success that runs rampant in our industry. And when I'm saying our industry, I'm referring in particular to what I like to call the transformation industry: coaches, speakers, authors, trainers, consultants, internet marketers, service-based professionals, of course, anyone who supports people in who do these types of work and who are in this industry as well. So there's things in this industry that come up that I believe are actually doing a disservice to many of us in many ways. And I'm going to share with you. Let me just pop this up on the screen for you here. It might look a little wonky on the screen, but I'm sure you guys are familiar with these phrases. The idea of do what you love and the money will follow. And when you love what you're doing, when you're doing work that you love, then you're never working a day in your life. Passion is what you need to succeed. That's what it takes to succeed. If you can dream it, you can do it. What you focus on will expand. So just make sure that you're focusing on what you love, and then you're going to have more of that. Now, here's the thing with these statements that for me is a little bit of a pet peeve. And actually, it's not a pet peeve. It's actually a bit of a heartbreaker for me, is that the danger of these statements is they insinuate that creating success is not supposed to feel like work. They insinuate that it shouldn't feel hard, and that in actuality, if it does feel hard at times, if it feels like there's work to be done, then maybe you're not doing it right. There's sort of this, in some ways, subconscious almost message that comes through with some of these phrases and these concepts that we've all heard from time to time in various ways. It's kind of this idea that when you're on the right path and when you're fulfilling your mission and you're feeling passionate and you're driven by purpose, then everything's going to align, everything's going to fall into place, and then it's smooth sailing from there on out. Now the reality is, as I'm sure many of you can appreciate, that this is partially true. So the heart of these statements, the idea of doing work that matters, the idea of being on purpose, the idea of perhaps being driven by passion, or being on a mission, having a clear vision, doing work that matters, being driven by meaning. The idea in the heart of that is really, really important. I believe that that's true. But the fact of the matter is, too, that there's another piece to this. There's another side to this journey that if we don't embrace and honor what that is, then we're going to struggle. And in a nutshell, the other side of that coin is that it takes work to succeed. It's going to take work to succeed in business. And I've seen so many people, I've seen so many amazing entrepreneurs. I've worked in this industry now since 1999. I first found the coaching industry in 1999, and I initially trained as a coach. I'm going to actually show you guys my first business card later. I found it the other day. It's a hoot. From my first coaching business back in the day. That was almost 15 years ago now. So I've been in this industry a really long time, and to me it's heartbreaking to see amazing people get stuck in this space of having a gift, having something amazing to offer, wanting to create success, wanting to serve, wanting to really bring the best of who they are to the table, but yet you're stuck spinning your wheels. You're stuck with not knowing what do you actually need to do or not do. You're stuck thinking that it's supposed to be easy, or it's not coming together, or this person is doing this and that, and it can become just this great big whirlwind of, why does this feel so much harder than I thought it would? Why does this feel so much harder than I thought it would? Now, here's what I know to be true about success is, if it doesn't feel like work at times, then you're probably not doing what it takes to be successful. And we're going to talk specifically about the right work. I like to talk about doing the right work at the right time. I'm going to share some of that with you here later on today. Because absolutely, there is work to be done. And if it doesn't feel like work for you, then chances are you're probably not doing what you actually need to do in order to succeed. And I don't care what people say. I mean, there's some amazing people in our community, in our industry, who do amazing work. And of course, you know, from the outside looking in, you might look at them and think, wow, it must be so easy for them. I can guarantee you guys that that's not the case. It's not that they're not enjoying their work. It's not that they're not enjoying their lives and that they don't have free time and all of that too. But you better believe they're working their buns off. You know, if you think about people you see where you're like, wow, I would like to have what they have, don't get caught up in this idea that they didn't work to get there, because I can guarantee you that they did. You know, another element that I know to be true about success is that if what you're doing doesn't scare you a little bit, then you're probably not stretching yourself enough. You're probably not stretching yourself enough. You need to, and I talk about this a lot with our clients and with some of the people we work with in our programs, when they come and they're like, oh my gosh, this just came up, eek, what do I do with this? Yikes. My response is quite often, woohoo, it's a little scary. It should feel a little scary. It feels scary for me to do this call here today with you, to do this webinar with you, because this is a new topic and it's a new area for me to play in, and it's new. It's new in different ways. You better believe it's feeling a little scary. So if something's not feeling scary for you, and if your business, kind of where you're headed at large and stuff, is not feeling scary, then maybe you just don't have a big enough vision right now. And honestly, if it doesn't sometimes feel hard for you, then you personally are probably not pushing yourself to the full potential. You know, there's work to be done in the business, and by all means, you alone do not have to do all of the work. I'm sure if you've been in my community for a while, you're going to know I take a huge stand on that when it comes to growing your business. But also, ultimately, too, it needs to feel a little bit hard. It needs to feel a little bit challenging, or you're not truly going to be working to your full potential. This is what I call the purpose paradox, too, and just what the purpose paradox is. It's actually when you're focusing so much on ease and waiting and expecting for it to be easy, to feel good, to feel right, and not enough on doing the right work at the right time to build your business. So this is something really important to understand, or to be able to grasp, is just if you're focusing too much on the ease and not enough on doing the right work at the right time. Now, for some of you, this might be like, well, yeah, I totally get that. Not a problem. You know, I understand. For others, though, too, I want to invite you to maybe consider this at a deeper level, and even after our time here together, right? Because there are times, believe me, I catch myself in this. I catch myself in this when I talk about this misconception of success in our industry, and this idea of, you know, it shouldn't feel hard and it should always be easy. I will catch myself from time to time going, well, this just feels so hard right now. Why does it feel so hard? It's not supposed to feel so hard. That's where this paradox is. It's like you have a mission and you're driven and you know you want to create something and bring it out into the world, but then there's work to be done and it feels hard and you don't know if you're doing the right work or not at the right time. And so we want to make sure that we embrace the fact that there's work to be done here. You know, and I have to admit to you guys too, when I was putting together this time together here today, when I was writing the manifesto, the Purpose Paradox Manifesto, there's a part of me where I'm like, you know, do I want to go out here and talk to you and tell people about the fact that, listen, there's some hard work to be done with this business? Because I see a lot of marketing messages out there that really lead you to believe that it's going to be easy, that really lead you to believe some of the phrases we shared already, but this idea of, you know, just follow this 8-step system. Just do these 3 simple things today. Just do this, this, and that. And I'm not here to say that it's meant to be complex or overwhelmingly difficult, but I am here today to say to you that yes, it is going to take work. It is going to take work for you to create what you want to create. And we need to be okay to embrace that, right? If you're waiting for it to feel good, if you're going to sit around and wait for it to feel good, then chances are you're never going to get to the success that you want to get to. You're never going to get there. And of course, the ultimate destination and where we're headed and all of that, there's a lot of great, amazing feelings and accomplishments that can come around from that, right? We want to head to a place. We'll talk about that a little later when we jump into the steps. You want to head to a place where you know where you're going and you know it's going to be worth it when you get there. It's like hard work is okay as long as it's worth it to get to the destination. I think about running a race. You know, if any of you have ever trained for a race, running a 5K or a 10K or a marathon, or if any of you have done any kind of hard work in preparation for something, of course there's times where it sucks and it's not fun. But when you get it done, then you know it was worth it. That's what your business should feel like. There's hard work and there's work to be done and not every day is going to be thrilling. But ultimately when you get there, you know that it's going to be worth it. I want to touch on passion a little bit here too before we jump into the steps as well. I'm curious for you joining us here what passion means to you in your business. What does having passion mean? What does being driven by passion mean for you? And if you want to pop it in the chat box, go ahead. You know, I'd love to see some of the comments that some of you have to share around that. But what does passion mean for you in your business? So I used to think that passion was a necessity. I used to think that passion was a necessity in my business. And that if I wasn't feeling passionate, then something was wrong. Something was wrong. You know, the idea that we need to have passion, that we need to feel passionate, and that we need to be coming from that place it's a stumbling block for those of you who maybe struggle to find it, like I did in my business for years and years. But then it can also become an excuse for those of you that do have it. And here's what I mean by that. So passion is, the heart of passion actually shows up as a feeling. You know, this is the way that I define it, too, is that the heart of passion is about a feeling. It's like, oh, right, oh my gosh, I can't wait to do this. This is great, woohoo! There's a real energy, there's a real emotion that comes into play behind passion. And so years ago, back in the day, back when I first started on my coaching journey, I decided that, you know, I was in the space of like, passion. Okay, passion is an important thing. I need to figure out what this is. And so I decided that I wanted to coach people on finding their passion. And although I wouldn't say it at the time, I didn't really recognize it this way, but part of the reason why I was doing that is because I didn't really know what my own passion was. I was going to show you guys my business card. This is my very first business card for my first coaching business. Passion Works. That was the name of my first coaching business. What a hoot, hey? And I still have the same phone number. Awesome. My very first coaching business was called Passion Works, and I ran workshops, and I did some one-on-one work with coaching clients. And the heart of the work I was looking to do was to help people find passion in their business, to help people determine what that thing was, so that they could move forward from there, and it would all be so much easier. That it would all be so much easier. But here's the thing I have to tell you. I never found what I would call passion. I never found, for me personally, that space that I thought I was supposed to find, that space of like, I'm so excited, I'm going to leap out of bed, and I can't wait to get to work, and woohoo! You know, the thing for me is that what I came to recognize at a certain space, or at a certain time in my business, a number of years ago, is that, you know what, it doesn't matter if I'm feeling passionate about something, it's more about being on purpose. It's more about purpose than it is about passion. It's more about purpose. And we'll dive further into what purpose is here, because I define purpose in a very specific way. But see, passion, because passion relies on emotion, quite often, it will ebb and flow. It will come and go. And if you're not an emotionally driven person, I'm not an emotionally driven person, then you may never actually find that sort of elusive space of like, I'm supposed to feel so thrilled and excited about this. You may not find that if you're not wired that way. Likewise, if you are really passionate and you are really, you really can tap into and find motivation and excitement and energy from your passion. The space where that can become dangerous is that if there are days and times when your passion goes away, ebbs and flows, then you may not want to do the work that day. You're going to think something's wrong. You're going to be like, ooh, I'm just not feeling it today. Maybe I shouldn't go there. Maybe I shouldn't do this. You may stop, find yourself stopping and waiting and wondering, and what am I missing? And maybe I need another training, or maybe I need to work with a different coach. Maybe I need to quit doing what I'm doing here and do something else instead. This passion piece, for some of us, has really done a number in our industry. And I know saying that on some level can be a little bit controversial, right? Because don't get me wrong, I think passion can be an amazingly valuable asset in the business. But it can't be the only thing we rely on. It can't be the only thing that you're relying on in your business. You can't be waiting to feel it and be like, woohoo! Because there's going to be days when you don't feel it, and yet the world still needs you to bring the best of who you are to the table. And I think that's the work. I think that's the heart of the work that needs to be done here, and the heart of why this is so important too. This idea that the bigger your purpose, the more work that will actually be required of you. So the bigger your purpose, the more work that will be required of you. It's really something to embrace and really something to step into and own. And for each and every one of you, I know you wouldn't be sitting here hanging out with us today and or connecting and watching this later if you didn't feel like there was some real big purpose and reason and meaning and for the work that you're doing and why you're doing it. You wouldn't have joined us today. It wouldn't have been all that, wouldn't have been all that interesting to do a call on a topic like this. So I want to jump into what I define purpose to be. And this is where we are going to grab that. We're going to start to fill out some little blanks on this here worksheet that I mentioned. And again, if you're just jumping in here now and you haven't grabbed a copy of this, there's a link posted. It was sent out in the reminders. There's also a link posted here in the little chat box, whatever side that shows up on when you're looking at the screen here, right? So, and if you can't download it right now, no worries. It's not mandatory to have it in front of you. But we're going to start jumping into what the 3 steps are, what I actually like to call the 3 foundational elements of building a purpose-led business. Now, purpose-led, what I believe purpose-led is bringing the best of who you are to the table, the best of what you're wired to do and how you're meant to help people, and combining that into the right business model. So the 3 pieces, if you want to fill out space number 1 on your form that has the little heart and the wings, the word that goes in there is desire. Because the first piece, the first of the 3 steps, the first of these 3 foundational pieces is desire. It's desire. And in a nutshell, when I say desire, what I mean is, what do you want to create for yourself? What do you want this business to be? It's really important to ask this question, and it's really important to consider this question from a number of different angles. And what we're going to do is, there's varying layers of this that comes into play, but what I want to talk about and what I want to focus in on today is you can give there's 3 key areas that I want you to consider and that I want you to have 100% clarity in. When you're considering for yourself, what do I want? What do I want for me? Now, I want to be clear here, too. Desire. Desire is, what do I want for me? It's not only what do I want for the people around me. That's part of it. But there's a layer of this, too, that's really about you and putting yourself first. And in some cases, for some of you, this may be hard. This may be hard. I know in particular, this tends to be harder for women than men. Not to be stereotypical, but it can be harder for women than men. So looking at these 3 kind of areas of desire, there's 3 pieces here that I call kind of the key motivators for entrepreneurs. The 3 key motivators. We have money, we have freedom, and we have meaning. And I want you to get clear when it comes to you creating your purpose-led business and you really knowing and being connected to what you're doing in your business, what you're creating and why you're creating it. These pieces, the money, meaning, the freedom, the desire piece here, lends itself to the question of why am I doing it this way? Why am I doing it this way? So take money as the first example here. If I was to ask you today, how much money do you want and need to make in your business right now? What would your answer be? Do you have an answer? I'm not saying you have to share it. Don't worry, I'm not asking you to come out publicly or anything like that. I just want you to know, is there a crystal clear number that pops up in your head, or is there a general, I don't know, I'd like to make probably about X amount of dollars. I'm thinking I want to make 6 figures this year. Now, when I ask clients this question, when I'm working with people directly in this area, quite often the response I will get before we start working together, before they're purposely considering this, is usually a generalization. I'd like to make 6 figures. Okay, why? Why do you want to make 6 figures? I don't know, it just sounds like a good number. That's not enough. That's not a desire. The number one thing about money, there's 2 things I really want. I mean, we could probably spend all day talking about money and all the stuff that comes up around money for each of us, right? But really, one of the key things I want you to embrace is the fact that if you are in business for yourself, money matters. When you are in business, money matters. Each and every one of you is here because you are in business for yourself. I don't care if you're just getting started or if you're 6, 7 figures and beyond. The space of where you're at, the income level, the stage of growth, etc., that's irrelevant. The bottom line is money matters. So do not allow yourself to come from the place of, it's not that big a deal. I'm not really worried about money. If you are in business for yourself and you don't want to make money, or you're not making money, you actually have an expensive hobby than a business. You can end up with a very expensive hobby in some cases as opposed to a business. What defines a business is the fact that you are providing something in exchange for money. That's what money is, an exchange of value. So money does matter. If you are not making money in your business in the way that you want to, then you are not living the full purpose in your business that you could be. If you're not making money, then you are not actually living a purposeful business, living on purpose through your business. So first and foremost, don't allow yourself to fall into that trap, or maybe start to catch yourself if you fall into that place of, oh, money doesn't matter, money doesn't matter, money doesn't matter. It does. It really does matter. Now, the secondary piece to this, too, is that you need to know exactly the amount of money you want and why you want it. Exactly the amount. Not a general, I think I want this much or that much or whatever it is. You need to know exactly how much you want and what you're going to do with it. You know, I like to use the example, if you went to, say you went to, I don't know, the Universal Bank in the sky. You're like, hey, I want some money. Okay, great. How much do you want? I don't know. I just need some money. Well, I need to know how much you want and what you're going to do with it. I don't know. I just want some money because I need some money. It's like you need to be clear. One of the exercises that I always do in our programs is really helping it. I like to call it the shopping exercise. So hey, ladies, and or men, any of you who like to go shopping, this is a fun one. But it's really taking a look at, you know, what do you want in your life? Not only just material things, but experiences. Not just for you personally, but within your business. What are these things you want? And what is the investment? What is it going to cost? What is the price for you to get those things? That becomes your money goal. That becomes your money goal. And when you set a money goal from that space, then it's actually connected to things that matter. It's not just some airy-fairy out there number that you kind of pulled out of the sky because somebody told you that should be your goal, or you see everybody else saying that that's that goal, or whatever. So money, how much money do you want? Down to the dollar. Very important for you to hone in and get clear on that when we're talking about desire. Freedom. Here's what I mean by freedom. You know, I define freedom as being able to do what you want to do when you want to do it. And so again, there's a caveat to this. Ultimate freedom is earned. It's kind of like a teeter-totter of sorts when we're in business. It's not that you're going to start your business tomorrow, work 4 hours a week, and the money is going to magically pour in somehow. That's not the way that this works. You know, there is work to be done and there is time to be spent. But the flip side of what can happen for so many entrepreneurs I know is that you end up in a place I like to call ultimately the entrepreneur's trap, where you're working so hard and you're spending so much time and energy doing things and it's not worth the return. You need to be aware when it comes to freedom as to when will you not work? What are you willing to do and not willing to do? Within reason of what you want to create. To really consider what you want your life to look like that way. I don't believe and I don't buy into kind of the glamorized, glorified entrepreneurship thing that we'll read about in magazines that's all about you got to work 80 hours a week and, you know, sleep on the couch in your office kind of thing. And you got to sacrifice everything, time and energy and whatever with families. I actually think there's a real destructive element to that. And some of you may be familiar, Ariana Huffington, did I say her first name right? She has that book, Thrive, that she came out with recently, which really is all about taking back our lives and creating a balanced lifestyle. She's got a really phenomenal story about how working too much almost like cost her health in a lot of ways. So this is not something to take lightly. We're diving into this piece a little bit quickly. But the thing I want you to consider is really, when are you willing to work and not willing to work? For some of you, you may be in a stage in your life where you have a lot of other family commitments. You have small children around, or you have other people in your life that you need to care for and you want to spend more time with. Maybe you're just in a season where you don't want to work a whole bunch. Know and honor that in yourself. Not every type of business model out there requires that you work 24/7. We're going to talk business models in a little bit. But you don't have to work 24/7 to create success. I'm a huge believer in that. But your freedom will be earned more and more so over time. So in the earlier stages of business, yes, there's more work to be done. At every new stage of growth, there's more work to be done. But then there's ultimately a place you can get to where you don't have to be working 24/7. As I like to say, where you don't have to work weekends if you don't want to. I know, I'm all for not working weekends. Woohoo! Unless if I'm traveling. If I'm traveling on a weekend going to a conference, yes. I don't necessarily consider that work. For me, that's a little bit of fun too, right? So freedom. Third one here that I want to touch on is meaning. So money, meaning, and freedom. Just to show you these three again here, right? We've talked about money. We've talked about freedom. Now I want to touch on meaning. I want to touch on meaning here for a moment. This is a biggie. Now, and this is the space where many people consider this to kind of be what purpose is all about. So when we talk about this idea of creating a purpose-led business, part of that is knowing that how you want to contribute to the world, essentially. So what meaning is basically asking yourself this question: what is the difference that you want to contribute to creating in the world? What is the difference that you want to see in the world? This is where meaning comes into play. And for each of you, this is where we get to be very unique and different. I believe that we are all born with a space that we're meant to serve in. I believe that we're all born with a purpose. And I'm sure some of you, I certainly have as well, have looked at purpose before. There's various exercises to find meaning, to find purpose. There's various ways to really hone in on this. And we're not getting into the specifics of it here today. But what I do invite you to consider is just really to ask yourself that question: what is the difference that you want to see in the world? And if you feel compelled, if you feel called to share, right here I'd love to see what comes up for you. If any of you want to share in the chat box, what is the difference that you want to see in the world? Had some really great conversations this week with a couple of clients of mine that I wanted to share with you what came up for them, and they both gave me permission to do this. I think these are just beautiful examples of it. So one client of mine, Kristen Poborski, I don't know if Kristen's here on the line or not, but Kristen actually, what Kristen does is marketing work. She helps coaches, speaker, author, trainers get leads, get traffic, and get leads. So who doesn't need that, right? Everybody needs that. Everybody needs that. But in a conversation we had the other day, what came really clear, which I think was just beautiful, as Kristen's why, her purpose, her meaning in her work, is that she helps people be seen and heard. So feel that. You know, she is here to help people be seen and heard through their work. How does she do that? Through marketing, through traffic, through lead generation. There's a how to how she does that. But the heart of it, the meaning, the reason, is helping people be seen and heard. So beautiful. So beautiful. I love that. Sabina, who is also Sabina is a client of mine in one of our mastermind programs. And Sabina and I have known each other for years now. And what Sabina does is she works with graphic designers, and her business is Paper Specs. She has some really cool stuff, a really great membership site for graphic designers around paper. She does webinars in the industry. She's got some really cool things that she does in the design industry. And her bigger picture purpose or meaning, mission, if you will, of what she does is to make the world a better place through design. Make the world a better place through design. I love that. You can feel that. See, when we're talking meaning and when we're talking these things, right, we can feel them. We can feel them when they click. You know that you've hit on meaning when it has a feeling to it. It's not a how-to, because the how-to can look different for everybody. There can be two different, I'm sure there's other people in the world who feel that that's their purpose, to help the world be a better place through design. But they're not going to do it in the exact same way that Sabina does. And we'll talk more about business models and such in a moment, right? But they're not going to do it the same way. But the heart, the meaning, the reason behind it could be the same. For me personally, my meaning, what drives me in this space of my business, what I desire in this space of my business, is to empower women to take who they are, to take their brilliance, to take their gifts, and to create a profitable, sustainable business from that. I love that stuff. To take the purpose, to take the mission and the vision and the passion and everything that you're bringing to the table. How do you turn that into a profitable, sustainable business? That's what I love to do. We do it in all kinds of different ways. There's lots of ways to accomplish that. So desire. Desire does not look just as simple and straightforward as, you know, well, what do you want? It's like, what do you want in those three key areas? Money, freedom, and meaning. And it's an exercise for you to play with. An exercise for you to play with if you haven't done so already. And again, if you think about any meaning, any purpose that comes up for you that you want to share during our time here together, by all means, go ahead and do so, because I'd love to hear. I'd love to hear some of that. Oh, I like this, Elizabeth. Connecting people who have common goals to accomplish within a certain time frame. I want people to feel important in their business and in their work. That's awesome. Doing work that allows people to feel important in what they're doing, to know that they're contributing. Give business owners the gift of time so they may focus on profitability and sustainability. Ooh, I like it. I like it. Awesome. This is great stuff. We could probably talk about this piece all day, but we won't. I have more that I need to share with you. I want to move on to step number 2 here. And so if you have your worksheet, of course, go ahead and have that handy, because we're going to jump into the second piece. And that is brilliance. Just popping this on the screen again here for you. So brilliance. On your worksheet, it's the one under the little origami character on there. I think it's a bird. And brilliance is really looking at and knowing and honing in on what are your natural gifts and talents and strengths. Now, this is an area that we have been doing a lot of work in recently that I have to tell you guys, it's been really fascinating in a lot of ways, because I think before, I don't know, there's all of us, maybe not all of us, but many of us have grown up in this space. I know this to be true from my experience, that we need to get better at the things that we're weak at. That we need to learn how to improve our weaknesses, and we need to get better at certain things and all of that kind of stuff. It's actually the opposite in the world that we live in, and this can apply anywhere in life, but in particular in business. I want you to be creating a business that hones in on your strengths and does not require you to be doing stuff that you're not good at anyhow, and that's not going to bring the best of who you are to the table. This is what I want for you. There's a great book called The Big Leap, Gay Hendricks. Some of you may be familiar with this, holding it up on the screen there. Now, he talks about in the book, he talks about these 4 levels of competence, essentially. Or you could say 4 levels of genius in this book. And the first level is the level of incompetence. or the zone of incompetence. Now, when you're working in the zone of incompetence, these are things that you don't know how to do. And you're not good at them, you don't know how to do them, you don't really want to do them anyhow. So it sounds obvious to say, don't do them. But again, I can guarantee some of you are getting stuck. I always think of a client years ago, a coach who we were working with in a program. I think this was with Andrea Lee years ago, and she came to us and she's like, oh, I just can't stand this stuff, but I gotta figure out how to use a shopping cart. I'm like, no, you don't. Are you kidding me? For her, that's a zone of incompetence. For someone else, that can be a zone of genius. So first one, zone of incompetence. The second level is the zone of competence. These are things that you do, but other people can do them just as well. So it's kind of like, okay, I can do these things, but other people can do them just as well. Hey, no worries. So sure, you can do it. All right, I'll do it. Those are the things where it's like, yeah, I know somebody else could do this for me, or maybe I could get help here, or I really kind of don't want to do these, but I can get it done, so I will. That's where you end up in that trap of keeping too much on your plate. The third one is the zone of excellence. I'm going to read this directly from the book for you guys because I think this is phenomenal. The zone of excellence. This is so important for us in business as entrepreneurs. The zone of excellence is the activities you do extremely well. You make a good living in your zone of excellence. For successful people, this zone is seductive and even dangerous, a dangerous trap. To remain in this zone is to hobble yourself from taking the leap into your zone of genius. The temptation is strong to remain in the zone of excellence. It's where your addiction to comfort wants you to stay. It's where your family, friends, and organization want you to stay. I would say your family, friends, and clients want you to stay here. You're reliable there. You provide a steady supply of all the things that these people want and need from you. The problem is that a deep, scared part of you will wither and die if you stay in your zone of excellence. There's only one place where you will ultimately thrive and feel satisfied, and that is your zone of genius, which is the fourth level that he talks about here. And the zone of geniuses are the things that you are ultimately meant to do, the gifts that you were given. I'm not going to say that only you can do, because I'm sure other people have similar zones of genius and so on, but there's a key difference to really consider with when you're looking at what are my strengths, what are my gifts, what are my talents. I will tell you guys, over the past couple of years, it's almost like being a mummy wrapped up in a bunch of bandages, just to share my own personal experience with this, right? Because here's the thing, I have a lot of stuff in the zone of competence, I have a lot of stuff in the zone of excellence, and at the end of the day, I'm sure many of you can relate to this, I can do a lot of things and do them pretty darn well. So every level of growth in my business, instead of being more work and taking more work on, has been shifting to focusing on the right work based on my strengths and based on where we're at in the business. It's been letting go of certain things that, okay, yes, I could do this stuff, sure, fine, but other people can do them as well as me, or other people are probably better than me in a lot of cases in some of these things. So every level of growth in the business has been honing in on my strengths and really getting clear on my strengths and really being able to build and operate. And the entire team, we've worked with our entire team really purposely in the past couple of years to have everybody working in this space. We work with our clients to help them and their team really operate in this space. So when we're talking about your strengths and when we're talking about knowing that, it's really, there's kind of two pieces to the strengths. It's like, what are you meant to do is one piece. What are you meant to do? What are your strengths? The other side is, how are you meant to do it? So there's various assessments, there's various things out there that can help you define these things. For example, we're a big fan of the Strengths Finder assessment. It's actually a book. Do I have it handy here? Oh, yes. Strengths Finder 2.0. There's a book that we send our clients whenever we work with somebody through one of our programs. Strengths Finder is about looking at kind of what are you meant to do. Like what are the strengths that you bring to the table so that you know what they are and you can learn how to apply them to your business, to your clients, and so on. Right? Then there's other work that's sort of like, how are you meant to do it? There's a great assessment, the Kolbe assessment, that some of you may have done before. It's KOLBE.com. It's the Index A. If you were to go look at that, again, we have our clients do this one as well. Kolbe is more about how are you meant to do the work. They have a really interesting, I can't remember what they call it, cognitive assessment or something like that, but it's also about how are you meant to do the work. See, I don't believe I have yet to find what I would say is like the assessment that is going to tell you exactly here's your strengths and exactly here's all of this, etc. Right? Sometimes there's a little bit of putting pieces together. Sometimes it's a little bit of taking from here and taking from there and really knowing what that's going to be, right? And really being able to hone in on this. And over time, sometimes it's a little bit of a process of elimination, like, oh, hey, wait a minute, no, that's actually a zone of excellence for me. It's not actually a zone of genius. Maybe I need to let go of that. Maybe I need to shift away from some of those things and really focus yourself differently. It was interesting too, I was listening to a podcast the other day, a leadership podcast from, what's the guy's name, Marcus Buckingham. He was actually the original creator of StrengthsFinder 1.0, I guess it would have been. He now has a different assessment as well that we're looking into and playing with a little bit too. But he was talking about this idea of when we continue to work on our weaknesses or we continue to expand in a way that takes us from our strengths and has us focus on our weaknesses, then we actually end up doing ourselves more harm than good. We end up growing into mediocrity, is the way that he described that. And I thought, oh, growing into mediocrity, my goodness. It's such a, like, it was almost like a, oof, I could feel that one when he said that, and thinking of all the times I've kind of gone down that road myself in certain ways. Now, one other question you can ask yourself here when you're playing in this space of what are your strengths? What is your brilliance? What is it that you do better than anyone else around you? I've found one of the most amazing clues for this too, and we're kind of on this little path of what is that going to look like for you, is what comes easiest for you. What are the things when you're like, that come up and you're like, doesn't everybody know how to do this? Like, why is this so hard? Hello, people, it's pretty easy. When that comes up, when that thought goes through your head, pay attention to that. Because quite often that's a huge, big arrow pointing to, this is your brilliance, this is your brilliance. Your brilliance is, your strengths are the things that are easy for you to do, that are natural for you to do, where you know you can do an amazing job, where you know you get to shine. That's what your brilliance is. And so when I remember having those moments over the years of like, well, hello, doesn't everybody know how to do this stuff? I had actually one of these moments the other day with my coach. I was like, well, whatever, that's no big deal. He's like, hello, that's a very big deal. People don't know how to do that in the way that you do. Like, oh my gosh, okay, I get it. There's a zone of brilliance there. So awesome stuff. There's other assessments out there too. There's lots of great work around this, and this is something that we love to do with our clients, is really helping people hone in on strengths. I mean, my goodness, you get to hone in on this, it's like freedom. It's like a whole other world. It's awesome. It's amazing. So step number 3. Step number 3. Whoops. What did I do here? Hang on. I clicked something I probably shouldn't have. Oops. Okay, you guys are still there. That's good. Step number 3 when we're looking at this is service, right? So service. Here's the bottom line of service. And here's what I believe is the ultimate moment of being a purpose-led entrepreneur. Your business, a purpose-led business, you know that you are on the right track. You know that you're in the right space. When you find and you land on that sweet spot between where you want, what it is you want, your desires, and your brilliance, and bringing those together in a way that serves what people need from you. This piece is all about your business model. It's all about your business model, and it is about you having the right business model for you and your business. Now, the business model piece is a tricky one because there's a lot of, I would say the biggest mistake that happens in this area is finding yourself in a space of trying to make the wrong business model fit for you, or finding yourself in a space of I think I'm supposed to do it this way. Having somebody come to you and tell you this is the way you're supposed to do it, even though you know it's not quite the fit, even though you know it's off. Business model is a really, really big deal. Your business model is like, it's like the tipping point of everything else. You can be so honed in on your desire and so clear on your brilliance, and if you don't bring those two pieces together in the right way, in the right business model that's going to serve the clients who need you, everything after that's going to be a struggle. Everything after that's going to be a struggle. This is one of my favorite places to work in, with clients is business model. And just really quickly, there's 3 types of business models out there ultimately at the end of the day. There is first and foremost what I call an active business model, meaning that you are doing work for people. And in the beginning of your business, for majority of you, this is where you start. This is where you need to start. You need to do the work. You need to connect with the clients. You need to be the coach and coach your clients. You need to be a graphic designer. You need to be an OBM or be a virtual assistant or, be a bookkeeper, whatever it is. Active work. When you're service-based, it's active work. It's going out and actively doing the work. One of the bigger mistakes that people make in the earlier stages of business is thinking that they don't have to do that piece. Your best work, ultimately over the years, will come from your active work, from you connecting directly with people and serving them. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. The second type of business model, the secondary level that will come after active work, is leveraged. So for many of you too, it's getting to a space in your business. I quite often call this the bursting point as well. You're doing active work. You got a lot of clients. You're doing great work. You're full almost to bursting. It's like, okay, what's next? What's next here? When you're at the what's next piece, this is where you get to start to look at leverage. How do I take the experience and the work and what I've created to date? How do I take that to the next level? How do I set things up so that it can be less work for me, or maybe the same amount of work for me, but I can serve more people? And that can look various different ways. That can be about doing group work instead of individual work. That can be about bringing people on the team to do what you do. There's all kinds of ways that this comes together with your business model. So leverage is the stage that comes after active. You get to really focus on leverage. So there's still work to be done here. There's still work to be done here, but it's not just one-on-one anymore. And it's maybe not just you doing the work anymore with this. So what comes after that is passive. Now, in some cases, you may or may not ever get to the passive stage. Passive revenue, the idea of people creating passive revenue, in some ways is a bit of a myth. Another one of those areas where it's kind of a misconception that you're gonna create passive revenue and everything will be sold and all you got to do is sit on the beach and drink margaritas and have the money roll in. It's first and foremost, that is not going to be the right business model for everybody. In fact, for a majority of people that I know and that I've worked with over the years, it's not the right business model for them. It's not. Right? But even then, even when you have a space to create passive income, and there can be a space for that, maybe it's a part of what you do. Right? There's still going to be work to market it, there's still a business to run, etc. So passive revenue is a little bit of it's one of those areas that people have a lot of thoughts and expectations and dreams about, but the reality of it is actually quite different. Because here's the thing, at the end of the day, we want to need connection. We want to need connection with each other. And some of the best work you can do is going to be work that provides connection. It's going to be work that provides connection with you and your clients. It's going to be work that provides connection with your team and ultimately maybe other people on your team who get to work with your clients. And I'm a real huge believer in always creating connection in the work that we do, in always being able to work that way. I want to share with you guys something that we're working on that quite honestly is a little bit, I want to say experimental. I don't know if experimental is the right word, because I do know and have full confidence in what the outcome will be. But we're actually going to be doing something a little different with a program that we're running this summer. This is not something that has a website. This is not something we're shouting out to the masses. It's actually something that, quite honestly, I was going to be doing something else this summer. We were going to be running an entirely different program. And I got a little bit of a loving bop on the head not too long ago, about a month or so ago. Where it's like, hey, wait a minute. There's something else here that I need to shift and take a look at. And what it is that we're running a program that we're calling the Purpose-Led Business Group Coaching Program. So it is a coaching program, but it's also very much a group coaching program. And what it is it's meant to be a space for you to take this desire and to take this brilliance and to take this purpose and to ensure that it's being put together into the right business model and the right container for you. I love this example. I remember first hearing this years ago with Barbara Corcoran. I'm sure some of you are familiar with her through Shark Tank and all of that. She's an amazing lady. And I've seen her speak a couple of times. One of the things that she spoke about is this idea that Every business needs an expander, a visionary, and a container. And the visionary, the expander, the person who's got the vision and the ideas and all of that, it's like, this is very expansive. It's like, whoa, we could do this, we could do that. It's all these amazing things, right? These amazing ideas and thoughts and wonderful things that could come together. But it needs any good visionary, any good ideas and such that come from a visionary, any good passion and purpose that comes from a visionary needs to be put together in a container. And what I mean by a container is the right business model is a container. Your right plan, profit plan, is a container. What we're going to do in this summer school, this group coaching program that we're calling the summer school, is we're actually going to be running through, I just want to share with you guys, I'm looking at the time too, and I want to make sure we get all these little blanks filled in for you here, right? Because we're going to be going through the 8 steps of this purpose path, this purpose map together. And the 8 steps, I'll share those with you in a moment, but I want to share with you why I say this is a little bit experimental. Because we're really delivering this program in a way that has a lot of connection with you. There's a training element to this, and then there's a group coaching element to this. And every week with every one of these sessions throughout the summer, we don't go every single week through the summer, it is spaced out with a few breaks here and there. But what we're going to be doing is there's going to be training, and there's going to be application, and there's going to be very clear and purposeful strategy for you. We're going to let you know what is the right work to do at the right time, because I know that's a challenge for many of you in varying stages, knowing what to do and when. I don't know what I'm supposed to do right now. What is it I'm supposed to focus on? That can be very, very confusing. And then we're going to have coaching time together, and we're going to have direct contact. This is something that when I say I got a little bop over the head recently, this is something that really kind of sparked up in me. And it sparked up in me from 2 sides, because I don't know if you've been in my community for a while, you'll know I don't do a ton of coaching. I don't do a ton of one-on-one work with people. We have our mastermind programs, a couple of mentorship programs we run, one for our online business managers, have another one that we've run with some of our higher-end clients in the past year. Outside of that, I haven't done a lot of coaching work. And I come from the coaching world. I mean, I've been in the coaching industry now for 15 years. And I had this real kind of moment a few weeks ago where it's like, wait a minute, I want to serve people at this level right now. I get and I feel that you need some direct connection here, and that some of you really want and need that. And if you don't, that's great too. But you know, for those of you who are meant to work with us right now, when we're meant to connect and work this way through the summer, it would be an honor for me to do so. I mean, I've purposely cleared my schedule. I've purposely set up some space throughout my week, and some space in throughout the time that we're going to spend together here, to make sure that we're just directly giving you some really good support in a group coaching format. If you've never been in a group coaching format before, magic happens there on those calls, I will tell you. You know, it's one thing to get one-on-one coaching and private coaching. That can be very important, absolutely. But it's another thing too when you're in a group and you're hearing other people bring their situations and their scenarios to the table, and they're getting coached through it. And it's amazing how often whatever they brought to the table is exactly what you needed to hear in the moment. And plus, too, we're doing this as a group coaching program so that we can have a number of people there. If I was looking to do just one-on-one private coaching, there wouldn't be very much availability. What I want to invite you to do for this, because this is strictly a by invite only sort of program, and by invite I mean those of you who are here today, who've registered for this call, who've joined us, I want to give you an opportunity for us to connect and talk a little deeper about where you're at with your purpose-led business. So for you, I know we did a poll. I want to check the latest results of this. Some of you I know would have hopped into this, and some of you may not have seen it. It was just a couple of days ago that I sent it out, where we did a poll with people on who are in my community, who are already on my email list and such too, asking about whether or not you feel like you're living on purpose through your business. And outside of, so 10% of people came back and said that, yes, I found the right business model, I love what I'm doing, I'm making great money, I'm set. That's 10% of you, which I love. That's awesome. I love hearing when people are in that space. 30% of you came and said, yes, I'm doing, have clients, I'm doing great work, but something's missing a little bit. This is the stuff I want to connect with you on. Some of you came back and said, another 37% came back and said, I started my business, I'm on purpose, I know what I want to create, but I'm just not sure, I don't have the clients, or I'm not making the income I want to make yet. Right? This is what we want to work on together. And I want to extend an invitation for you and I to have a conversation around this, just a short and sweet conversation around your purpose and where you're at and maybe where you're feeling stuck. And if it makes sense for you to join us for this summer school, great. We'll give you the details and give you the information to do that. If not, that's fine too. That's fine too. I don't subscribe to this idea of like, this is your only option, or something like that, right? I mean, there's a timing for things. There's a space and time when you're meant to work together, and or maybe not meant to work together, and that's fine. But regardless, I've actually cleared my calendar for the most part for the next week or so to have the opportunity for us to have a one-on-one, direct, short and sweet session together, where we'll just talk about where you're at, see if this is a fit, and if not, I want to have you walk away with your next best step, your next thing that you need to maybe look at, the next direction to go in for you and your business. And if you want to grab that time, on my calendar here, hang on. There's a little pop-up thing that shows up here on the webinar system that we're using. So you'll see that under that little, I think it's under the pop-ins tab if you're joining us there, or if you go directly to tinaforsyth.com. I'm going to pop this in the chat too. tinaforsyth.com/session. Just that easy. There's a little bit of a form to fill out there, just so I can get to know a little bit more about you, and we don't have to spend some time kind of talking about background stuff. We can just dive right in. But fill that out. You will be able to book a time in my session or in my calendar right after that. So it is a first come, first serve sort of scenario here, right? And I want to make sure if this is really speaking to you, if you know that you're in this space of wanting to hone in on this and take your business, in a real purposeful direction, if you know this is a piece that you need, then let's make sure that we connect. Let's make sure that we connect there. So looking at your purpose map, the rest of these, I want to give you the rest of these little, fill in the rest of the blanks. I know we're not getting into them in depth right here and now today, just due to time. And this is exactly the stuff we'll be working through in our group coaching program there and through our little summer school session. So 1, desire. Number 2 is brilliance. Number 3 is service, your business model. Excuse me. Now the next one here with the little map is called the money game. The money game, this step, this 4th step, now that you know all these pieces, right? You know what you're creating and why you want to create it, and it's based on your strengths, and you know the right business model. Now we get to the money stage. This is where you're going to plan for profit. This is where we're going to look at pricing. This is where and when I say money game, it literally is a game that you get to play. It's pretty simple and straightforward. But it can be a lot of fun. You get to see what it's going to take to make that financial goal that you already set in the first one when we talked about desire and money and how much money you actually want to need, right? So the second one here with the little, so that one's money game. Number 5 is your CEO mindset. We're going to talk about how you need to maybe think a little differently about your business. CEO mindset is really about knowing how to do the right work at the right time, knowing how to make decisions around your business at another level in a way that's going to allow you to move forward and continue to grow to where you want to be in your business and what you want to create. Of course, marketing. Got to talk about marketing. Connecting your brilliance and how do you get that out there in a way that's really going to connect you with the right people who want and need you. I'm a believer that there are people out there who want and need you right now who don't know about you yet. And not to sound overly, woo-woo, if you will, around this, although absolutely, I believe in the woo-woo element of this. This is what I do when I have these moments sometimes where I'm just like, oh, I'm having an off day, or it's kind of like something didn't turn out the way I planned, or I'm just frustrated, or who knows what's going on. Sometimes what I do, it's almost a little bit of a mind trick that I like to play on myself. But it's really considering and thinking that, there are people here in the world right now that want and need what I have to offer. And if I get too caught up in the I'm not feeling it today, the blah, the this didn't turn out piece, or I wish I had this or that, if I get too caught up in some of that that can happen, in business, and that will happen from day to day, then I'm not serving them. I'm not connecting with them. You can almost imagine there's people in a waiting room that are sitting around waiting for you to come and serve them. And when we don't put ourselves out there in the right way, and we're not purposeful with stepping out with our message and our brilliance and how we're going to work with people and how we're going to serve them, then you're leaving these people sitting around waiting. So it can be a great exercise for you to imagine that. And you can actually feel this. You can actually feel this too. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool stuff. Number 7 is leadership. How do you build and lead a team for you and your business? This is a biggie. And believe me, there is no great thing is accomplished in life without a team. Now, a team could be as simple as maybe 1 or 2 part-time people in the beginning through to like a bigger number of people. We have what, like 5 or 6 people on our team, I think right now, who are pretty dedicated members on a day-to-day basis. You want to know how to lead that team. Team can be a frustration for people. I was at a mastermind, my own mastermind group that I'm a part of, that not one I'm leading, but one that I'm a part of as a member. And I was talking to some of the women there, and they were sharing with me how some of the issues they have with their team, and just not knowing how to lead them and not knowing how to, give them what they need to do the job, to serve the business and all of that stuff. That's the stuff that would bring them to tears on a very regular basis in their business. I do not want any of you being led to tears because of your team, because I assure you it does not have to be that way. But you need to know how to lead them. Leadership is a very important skill, and very learnable, very learnable. And last but certainly not least, automation, baby. We got to look at how you can get the right systems and processes and all this kind of fun stuff set up in your business so that it will continue to grow and expand. And now these 8 steps are very purposely in the order that they're in. We talked about the first 3 quite in depth here today. You need to know your desire. You need to know what you want to create before you take any other step here. And you need to hone in on your brilliance. I want you to be clear on that. I want to work with you through this program. If it's something you're not clear on yet, we'll work together on that and really help you find and hone in on that too. So that when you know those 2 things, we get to find what your best business model is. Love it. Love, love, love it. That is such an exciting stage. For some of you, it might be something totally different than what you're doing right now. For some of you, it might be maybe an expansion of what you're already doing. Or it might be kind of the next phase of what you're doing. But the right business model can truly make or break you. And then we get to go through all the rest, the money game, the CEO mindset, all of those things. That's what we're going to work on here together. Because I want you to come to a space where you're living on purpose. That's the heart of this at the end of the day. I want you to be living on purpose through your business. I want you to be able to go to bed at night feeling like and knowing that your work matters and that you make a difference in the world. Because that's what you're here for. That's what you're here for. And I don't care if your work is to work directly and serve just a couple of clients at a deeper level, or if you're meant to build some giant empire. It doesn't even matter what the heck it is you want to create. Not everybody's meant to build an empire. Not everybody should build an empire, right? That's what we see and hear about a lot out there. That's not for everyone. It's really not for everyone. And when you know where you're meant to serve and you can do that to the best of your level. Gosh, I love this. One of the online business managers, I can't remember who it was, shared with me recently, where it's like their purpose, what they love to do, is knowing that they're supporting a business owner who is in turn helping hundreds of other people. And because they get to support that one person and that one person's business at the highest level possible, that has an amazing trickle-down effect through everything, right? So not everybody needs to be building this empire of sorts. And that being said too, though, there's always another level of growth at each stage, and depending where you're at right now, you may be in the active stage and working one-on-one with clients and doing great work, and it's like, okay, what's next? What's next? We can work on that together. That's something we can work on together. All right. Woo! Feels like a mouthful here in some ways. There's a couple of things I wanted to leave sort of as parting thoughts for you. And then I do want to have some space if anybody has questions as well. Go ahead and do the little Q in your chat box there, because unfortunately I won't be able to hear your voice just based on the fact of the system we're using right now. But if you do have questions, go ahead and post that in the chat box with a little Q. And I'm happy to hang out a little bit longer, answer any questions and stuff that come up for you, if anybody does have anything specific. Likewise, book that session with me, and we'll talk about your questions one-on-one. too, right? So make sure to do that. Make sure to do that, because we can talk that way as well. Couple of things I wanted to leave as like parting thoughts here for you. First and foremost, that this stuff takes courage. So I want to really acknowledge this in you. And I want to really just acknowledge this for you in the scope of not only what you're here today for, but just in the scope of the day-to-day. I think sometimes we forget when we're in business for ourselves that this is a pretty honorable calling. This is not a calling that everyone is cut out for. This is not a calling that everybody's going to receive, that everybody's meant to do. And I believe that being in business for ourselves and being an entrepreneur is one of the highest callings out there. And it takes courage. It takes courage. It takes courage to risk saying, this is who I am. This is what I'm brilliant at. And this is how I want to connect to serve others. It takes courage to be in that space. It takes courage to put yourself out there and risk. Risk success, risk ridicule, risk failure, you know, all of that kind of stuff. It takes courage to do that. And yet that's exactly what each of us are doing on this journey. And it also takes courage to say yes and to own the fact that, you know what, I want to make a great living for myself and my family. I want to do the things that I know I'm meant to do and that I'm great at, and I want to serve great clients. There's nothing wrong with claiming and saying that you want those things for yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. You get to have the best of both worlds. You get to have the best of being able to serve clients at the highest level, doing work that you know matters and that you know is going to make a difference and that you enjoy and that you get to enjoy and feel purposeful with at the end of the day. All right. Oh, repeat all the fill-in blanks slowly. I can do that. Number one, actually, I think I have a list I can pop on the screen here too, so I'll do that too while I do this. Awesome. Okay, let me just bring this up for you guys here. So number one is desire. Number one is desire. Number two, oh, here we go. Okay, cool. Number one is desire. Number two is your brilliance or your strengths. Your brilliance or your strengths. Number three is, oh, that's not what I want. Number three is service, being in service to others, or your business model is another way to look at that one. Number four is a money game. Number five is CEO mindset. Number six is marketing. Number seven is leadership. And number eight is automation. So another question here, why is marketing after CEO mindset and money game? Shouldn't it go after or even before money game? I love that question. That's a great question. Your money game, another way to consider the money game is a business plan. It's actually another way to build a business plan, a very simplified business plan for you and your business. And your money game becomes the touchstone for what you're trying to accomplish in your business. So part of the money game is determining, okay, what are my prices? How am I building profit into this? How much do I need to sell of what in order to reach these financial goals? That's what the money game is all about. And I'm a believer that you need to know where you're headed before you start to go there. So this money game and putting that together lets you play in the space of, okay, I know what I'm working on, I know where I'm headed, I know why I'm doing what I want to do, now let's take steps to put that out there. So can you start taking steps without that? Sure, you totally can. But I'll tell you, in work that I've done with clients over the years, including for ourselves in my own businesses, is we use the money game as a touchstone. It's like once the money game is created, and we do it every single year, and we review it on a regular basis, that it becomes this touchstone for the work that we're doing. It becomes a touchstone to see how effective is your marketing or not. If you're doing marketing things, and are they actually helping you reach those financial goals and reach those milestones that you've created for yourself. Likewise, CEO mindset, your mindset and the way that you think about things can have a huge impact on your marketing. You know, the mindset piece is really just about making sure that we're thinking correctly about our businesses. And so in some ways, they could be in different spaces, but you know, in the way that we've worked with clients and what we've seen truly work really well over the years, that's the format that we've seen work the best. Now, that being said, I'm never going to tell you to not go out and market yourself and get a client right away, because I'm all for that, believe me. I'm all for that, especially once you know who you want to serve and how you want to serve them. It's like the first 3 steps are essential in my mind before you go out, if you're in a space of being newer to your business or shifting your business model. Be very purposeful and clear on those first 3 steps. After that, don't be afraid to get out there and build your business in whatever way, shape, or form you want to do that. I hope that answered your question there, Sherry. Could I recap another question? Recap the passive model again. We talked a lot about what it shouldn't be. So I'm not sure if I totally understand the question there. There's the 3 types of business models. So number 1 being active, number 2 being leveraged, number 3 being passive. A passive business model is, so if you were to look above me, if you guys can see these little, I got all kinds of CDs and things up here. There's books. I mean, a passive business model could be a product, it could be a program, it could be something that doesn't require anyone to do the work to deliver it. So that's the definition of a passive business model. And so from there, here's where I say that there's a little bit of a myth around passive revenue. I have people come to me all the time and say, Tina, I want to create passive products. I want to create a passive product. I want to create a program of some kind. Now, here's what I want you to know about that, is that you could, first and foremost, if you try to start with passive before you've gone through active and or leveraged, and you may end up in a space where you don't know what you're creating and offering is actually what people want and need from you. So I've seen people pour their heart and soul into creating a passive product of some kind, say like I don't know, Pink Spoon Marketing is an example of a passive product that I created with Andrea Lee, like probably 10 years ago now. I was going to say it feels like a long time ago. If you look at it, there's CDs, there's workbooks, etc. There's all kinds of cool things with this. This was created after we had tested these 8 steps that are outlined in this marketing program. It was created after that. So we knew when we created it that people wanted it and that they needed it, right? Now, that being said, it's a boatload of work to create something like this. So there's a bunch of work up front to create a passive product, and then after that you have to market it. And quite often too, depending on who your market is and who you want to serve, they may or may not want to buy a passive product from you. If you are a bookkeeper and you want to serve entrepreneurs with their bookkeeping, entrepreneurs don't want to buy a product on how to do their bookkeeping. They want to hire somebody to do it for them. They want to hire an active person who's going to come into their business and do it for them. So there's an element of not only there's a bunch of work to create it, what do clients actually want and need from you, and not only that too, one of the misconceptions that's out there for people is they think that when you look around and you see what other people are doing and creating, that it might look like they're making a whole bunch of money from their passive products, but they're probably not. Some are, don't get me wrong. But a lot of times people will have something that they put out there. They'll have a book, or they'll have a program, or they'll have a CD set, or they'll have something that's a passive revenue product that they put out there, and they make some sales of it. But in reality, the bulk of their success and revenue and income comes from their leverage and active programs that they sell to people after they've made that initial purpose or purchase. Does that answer your question, Cindy? I'm hoping that I went in the right direction with that. I know it's a little weird sometimes when we're just just chatting back and forth here. So that's what the passive model is. So I just really recommend to you, if you're in the earlier stages and just getting started, focus on active. Look to work towards leveraged. And then passive can become a natural outcome of that. It can become a natural outcome of that. We'll talk about that a lot more in our training programs if that's something you're interested in joining us for with that too. Awesome. I don't know if I see any other questions here. I'd love to hear from those of you who are still with us on the call here. I want to hear 1 or 2 things that maybe really popped for you today from what we talked about. We talked about what I like to call the purpose paradox, where there's sort of been this layer of expectation put on us that things are supposed to be really, really easy, and that if they're not easy, then something's wrong. We talked about passion and how passion can be a very valuable asset, But at the same time, if we rely on it too much or think we're supposed to have it when we don't, maybe have it at the level that other people do, that can be a bad thing. Now that can be stopping us. We talked about the first 3 steps in particular, very much in depth here today. So I'd love to hear from a few of you if you want to pop in the chat box what really jumped out for you here today. I know I'm going to have to run through the chat box too, so I saw lots of conversation coming up from some of you along the way too, which is really, really great. Awesome stuff. Oh, I want to share one other thing I wanted to, I'm going to read this to you guys. It was really cute. So this morning, as you're maybe typing in some final thoughts and everything here too before we sign off, this morning I was at a family day celebration with my daughter at her, and she's in kindergarten. My youngest is in kindergarten. And so they had a little family day celebration and they did some singing and all of that other kind of stuff. They sang, one of the songs they sang was, don't worry, I'm not going to sing. I'm like, I'm not going to subject you guys to this, right? I won't do that. But one of the songs they sang, it's called Proud Like a Mountain. And as they were singing it, I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is so applicable to entrepreneurs as well. So I just wanted to share with you some of the lyrics here, right? It says, I am proud like a mountain, big as the sea. I will stand up for all that I believe. And if I don't succeed on the first or even the 10th try, I will pick myself up and try again. Isn't that great? Oh my gosh, isn't that the truth of our journey at times? You know, I will stand up for all that I believe, and if I don't succeed, I will try again on the first or the 10th time. I'll keep going. Very, very powerful stuff. So I like the part about honing in on what we do best, the genius level. We are going to talk about that, Anthony, in the program, really talk about, and we'll give you some various resources and things we can look at for you to work towards that, to hone in on it. Sometimes it can be hard to find. There's a little bit of like, can't see the forest for the trees for ourselves when it comes to our strengths and our genius. Sometimes we really need to get the reflection of someone else. You know, we need to be able to be in a space where we can get feedback, so that can be shown to us in that regard too. Honest about newness and being very needed in the service. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Catherine here. That's awesome. I need those lyrics. It's just called Proud Like a Mountain. I looked it up online. Proud Like a Mountain is the name of that song. Song lyrics. It was so cute. My goodness. A group of kindergartners singing that. I love that stuff. I love that stuff. Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Again, I really want to encourage you. I mean, honestly, if I could have it my way, I'd be having a conversation with each and every one of you, because I would love to do that. I would love to do that. I love being able to talk one-on-one directly about this. So that being said, of course, you're going to have to hop on over tinaforsyth.com/session. You'll need to hop on over there so that you can book that time with me. And it is a first come, first serve. I mean, if you're here live on the call, that's ideal, because of course that's going to, you know, give you the heads up, if you will. What is it? Early bird gets a worm kind of thing. And because you're here, that'll get you first in line for you and I to talk directly together. We'll talk more in depth about the program. If you did have lingering questions around that, whether or not it's for you, of course, we'll be able to let you know. It is for you if you're in the earlier stages. It is for you if you're in that space of like, I know I'm meant to do more and the pieces just are not coming together for me. That's the heart of where it is. That's the heart of the space that you want to be in for that. And by all means, we'll be able to help you decide if this is for you or not. You know, and you guys may or may not know that about me, but I was kind of joking. I was going to do an e-zine article about this, about how I actually talk myself out of clients sometimes. And what I mean by that is, if you and I have a conversation and or this program is not the best thing to serve you, then I'm going to tell you that. I'm not going to try to sell you into something that I know is not what you need right now. That's actually another pet peeve of mine about certain scenarios that occur out there, right? I'm not into the hardcore, this is it, all or nothing kind of space. And I know very clearly when I'm talking to people, like, yes, this is where you're at and what you need, or no, it's not. You know, so by all means, we'll be able to help you clarify that if that's something of what you're looking for there. Awesome. Great stuff, you guys. Wonderful. I should say you guys and gals. Guys and gals. Wonderful. All right. Well, big hugs to everybody. So fun to hang out with all of you here today. And yeah, like, ooh, let's have a little breather. Let's have a little enjoyment in the day. I look forward to connecting again soon. I'm sure we will. I look forward to talking to you one-on-one once you get your time booked. And until then, big hugs. Take care. Mwah. Bye now.